One, the governor's wife, Hillary Clinton. She talks to Sam Donaldson.
If you're married for more than 10 minutes, you're going to have to forgive somebody for something.
Some say she's his most powerful secret weapon.
The harder they hit, the more encouraged I get.
I've worked very hard on education reform, worked very hard on children's and family issues.
To deal with the problems that are affecting this country.
Some wonder whether she should be running for the White House.
But wouldn't you like to be president?
The bank. Diane Sawyer in New York. Sam Donaldson in Washington. Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace. Judd Rose, Jay Shadler, Sylvia Chase, and John Quinones. This is Prime Time. Prime Time. From Washington, Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton has spent the past week trying to fight off a cloud of scandal that has endangered his bid for the Democratic presidential nomination. Tonight we have an interview with the person who will deserve a large share of the credit if he succeeds. His wife, Hillary Clinton, who has not only stood by her man, but has led the counterattack against her husband's accusers. In some way, what is going on just now is a battle between two women for the public's favor. Gennifer Flowers, who says she had an affair with the governor, and Hillary Clinton, who says, well, she says quite a lot. Just listen.
Long-term strategy to change this economy and start investing in people again. We have to get a hold of our banking system.
Bill has said if he were president, among the things he would do would be to fully fund Head Start.
Every one of you involved. Thank you very much.
She is out front. She is outspoken. She is Governor Bill Clinton's primary defensive shield in his effort to overcome charges of marital infidelity. She is his wife. And for Hillary Rodham Clinton, these are days requiring great personal strength.
Have you heard the excerpts of those alleged tapes?
Yes, and read the transcript, sure.
When you hear someone whose voice, is it your husband on this tape?
Who can tell? I don't have any idea, but he's talked to her. We know that. I sat there in the kitchen one night when he returned a call.
And when you hear something like the transcript is correct, she signs off a conversation saying goodbye, darling, and he says goodbye, baby.
Oh, that's not true.
That didn't happen.
No, of course not.
Or he says, you know, they don't have the pictures.
Well, I'll tell you what. This was a woman who at least pretended that her life was ruined because somebody had alleged that she had a relationship at some point with Bill Clinton. Anybody who knows my husband knows that he bends over backwards to help people who are in trouble and is always willing to listen to their problems.
You mean those telephone conversations, he was just trying to help her out?
Well, the first time he called her, I mean, we were in the kitchen together, and he said, you know, this woman thinks her life is over, and he felt very sorry for her.
The truth is, I loved him.
Gennifer Flowers, who was paid by the tabloid Star to tell her story involving Bill Clinton and to play her tapes of alleged Clinton phone conversations, has the look of every married woman's nightmare. Sleek, sexy, a blonde femme fatale.
Yes, I was Bill Clinton's lover for 12 years. And for the past 2 years, I have lied to the press about our relationship to protect him.
Sam, if somebody's willing to pay you $130,000 or $170,000 to say something, and you get your 15 minutes of fame, and you get your picture on the front page of every newspaper, and you're some failed cabaret singer who doesn't even have much of a resume to fall back on, and what's there she's lied about, you know, that's the daughter of Willie Horton. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same kind of attempt to keep the real issues of this country out of the mainstream debate where they need to be.
Tough words, but unlike her husband, whose speech tends to round off the sharp edges, Hillary Clinton, campaigning this week in Colorado, drove home her points with a jackhammer. Although she says Flowers' bombshell came as a surprise to her.
I mean, if you had told me that 6 months ago, I would have laughed. I would have said, no way.
Well, would some people argue that all is fair in love, war, and politics?
Some people would, and some people would also say they would do whatever it took to be reelected, and it was a dog-eat-dog campaign. If we let the people of this country have a chance...
But such strength and such quickness in a candidate's spouse, let's face it, in a candidate's wife, is not everyone's cup of tea. As the Clintons found out after their joint appearance Sunday night on CBS.
Here's a question you tried to deal with the other night. Why are you standing by him? And your reply was something to the effect that you're not some little woman just standing by her man like Tammy Wynette. And I must tell you, Tammy Wynette is hopping mad.
And I'm sorry about that. And I I apologize to Tammy Wynette if what I said offended her. But I would not feel as strongly as I do that he is the right man to be president in this country at this time if I personally believed anything other than that. So my standing by him or for him...
But you are standing by him.
Well, of course, we're married.
The Clintons met in law school. Hillary Rodham was from Chicago, a brilliant student who had graduated from Wellesley, on the road to a high-powered law career.
As I was cutting through the student lounge at the Yale Law School, this voice said, and not only that, we grow the biggest watermelons in the world. And I said, who is that? And my friend said, oh, that's Bill Clinton. That's all he ever talks about. He's from Arkansas.
Now, did you say, who is that, or did you say, who is that yahoo?
No, I said, who is that? You know, Bill knew what he believed in, and he cared about where he came from, and that made a big impression on me.
Well, now, you're not from the South, and a lot of your friends in those days said, well, she's not going to go down to Arkansas. I mean, this is a woman on the go. This is big city.
I had to make a hard choice, but I also knew that I'd be real dishonest to myself if I didn't follow my heart and see where this relationship led and, take that leap of faith.
The Clintons returned to Arkansas. Hillary joined a prestigious law firm, a liberal in a conservative town. After all, she'd been a staff lawyer for the House Judiciary Committee's impeachment investigation of Richard Nixon. The Clintons were the golden couple, and in 1978, at the age of 32, Bill Clinton was elected governor.
Now it is time to look to the future. I do so with joy.
Bill wanted to slay every dragon he could find. I mean, he took on every special interest group. He was ready to right every wrong that came his way. We were all young.
In that first term, Hillary Clinton was an entirely different woman from the one you see now. She looked different. She insisted on using her maiden name.
She just was seemingly somewhat contemptuous of a lot of the trappings of the governor's office.
John Brummett, editor of the Arkansas Times Magazine, has covered the Clintons for more than 12 years.
And not willing to make much of an effort to adapt to some sort of politically acceptable appearance or style.
But then her husband got defeated.
Then he got beat.
I think Bill would be the first to say he made some real mistakes that first term.
Well, now, you may have made some mistakes in that first term, too. I have in mind for the fact that you were First Lady, but you kept your maiden name.
But after the 1980 election, a number of people said to me that it really bothered them. And so I decided that I would, add Clinton and go by Hillary Rodham Clinton. It was not a decision that was easy to make for me, but it was one that I made thinking it was the best for me and the best for my husband.
It was a political decision.
It was a personal decision, but it was prompted by political consideration.
Bill Clinton recaptured the State House in 1982 and has been there ever since, the nation's longest-serving governor. Many observers credit his wife Hillary with being the driving force behind his most successful project. He does not disagree.
Our life is very much a partnership. Our public endeavors we do in common. And I always say that my slogan might well be buy one, get one free. When are you going to run?
I'm on the team.
Lawyer, political advisor, wife, and mother. Of all these roles, Mrs. Clinton says caring for her daughter Chelsea, who is now 11, comes first. Her interest in children extends beyond her home.
She has had a passion about children and family and the poor and about education for all the time that I've known her.
Marion Wright Edelman, who heads the Children's Defense Fund, a national organization based in Washington, says her friend of 20 years has spearheaded reform legislation in Arkansas and other states.
She's not afraid to think anew about critical and hard issues to try to pull people together, but she's also very tough-minded and very results-oriented.
Yes, indeed. When President Bush hosted the governors at an education conference in 1989, Mrs. Clinton sat next to the president at lunch and lobbied him on the children's issue.
And I said, well, Mr. President, depending upon what statistic you look at, we're at 17th or 19th in the whole world in infant mortality. He said, well, Hillary, whatever are you talking about? Our health care system is the envy of the world. And I said, well, not if you want to keep your child alive to the year of his first birthday, that we haven't done what we need to do in that area. And I don't think the president was aware of that problem. And I told him I would go back to my hotel room that night and get the statistics and have my husband give them to him the next day. And he said, well, I'll get my own statistics. And I said, well, fine, I wish you would. And to the president's credit, the next day he gave a note to my husband, and the note said, tell Hillary she was right.
It is this sense of sureness and of combativeness that Hillary Clinton is employing this week in support of her husband.
If he wants to put it all behind him and say no more, she is on the attack. Her target, aside from Gennifer Flowers and the Star newspaper, the Republican, whom she accuses of masterminding Gennifer Flowers' story.
Well, I'll tell you what we know. What we know is that a member of the Republican National Committee consulted with and advised Larry Nichols, the former state employee, on at least 6 occasions about
Who was
his lawsuit. He's a man named Bob Leslie, who was the counsel to the Republican Party in Arkansas for years and now is a member of the Republican National Committee. We know that this woman has admitted that the Republicans offered her money to change her story and implicate my husband after having denied it repeatedly. And we know that the former Republican gubernatorial opponent has been out beating the bushes trying to stir this up for as long as he could since he was defeated. So
Sheffield Nelson.
That's right. That's right.
Bill Clinton's like a kid caught with his hand in a cookie jar.
Sheffield Nelson, the Republican who was soundly beaten in the 1990 governor's race, says he was on the verge of running ads about Clinton's alleged dalliances.
I felt that we had proof that was as defendable as could be. I felt that it was valid. I felt that we had strong enough cases in 2 or 3 instances that my people favored going forward with them. I did not use it in any way.
Sheffield Nelson is a very bitter man because my husband beat him, as he well should have, because he was a negative force in Arkansas politics. And he has now spent the last 2 years doing everything he can to try to get even. And it's a sort of sad spectacle.
It seems to me that your husband has sort of a catch-22 problem. He clearly does not wish to deny any and all possible infidelities. He wants to deny this specific one. Do you think in the abstract this is the kind of issue that people ought to pay attention to when they consider who to elect President of the United States?
I think that's up to the individual. I would not presume...
I'm asking you.
No, I would not presume to say what an individual ought to or ought not to take into account. That's what elections are for. Bill Clinton has a record of accomplishment and a state that is a very small state. It's like living in a fishbowl, a very happy fishbowl, but nevertheless a small one, where people know him, and they know him very, very well. And they've given him their trust and their confidence for 11 years in the highest position they could vote for him for.
But he wants to play in a far bigger pond now. There are some people who would say that if you cheat on one thing, you may cheat on something else, that it's a character problem.
Well, I think character is a lot bigger than that. And I think all that's really important is the relationship of honesty and openness and forgiveness between Bill Clinton and me. I would not be...
Have you forgiven him?
We have... If you're married for more than 10 minutes, you're going to have to forgive somebody for something. And that's one of the things we've had to learn over 16 years. There are a lot of big and little things that come up in a marriage that if you don't deal with right then and there, they can sink you.
It was Bill Clinton himself who informed his wife last Thursday of the Star expose involving Gennifer Flowers.
I just told her. I called her on the phone and told her. And, you know, we talked about it. We did what 2 people who've, you know, made a lifetime commitment do. We talked it through. And, you know, she is an incredible person. She's so strong and she's so good. And so honest. I mean, it was you know, I really love her.
He should be the next President of the United States, Bill Clinton.
So the Clintons are running as a team, and it is sometimes hard to decide which one makes the most favorable impression. Reporters frequently hear people in the crowd say they think the wrong Clinton is running. But Mrs. Clinton gives no encouragement to that idea. She found her place back in 1980, when her husband suffered his gubernatorial defeat. These days, she plays the role, yes, of top campaign advisor, but also of loving wife. Yes, it is that same adoring Nancy Reagan look that many people want to see. But make no mistake, the 2 law students who met at Yale have always played to win. And these days, Hillary Clinton is being called on to score most of the points. By the way, Bob Leslie, the Arkansas Republican National Committeeman accused by Hillary Clinton of conspiring to blacken her husband's name in this matter, denies he's done any such thing. Leslie told us, "I've not tried to get anyone to spread rumors about Governor Clinton." But rumors are flying about a lot of people. Another tabloid, the New York Post, today headlines, "She's done it before."
to accompany a story claiming that Gennifer Flowers has tape-recorded other lovers. The Clinton camp must be hoping that she who lives by the tabloid will die by the tabloid.